uppercut, uppercut, sonic boom! Yes, indeed, sonic boom time, boys and girls. It's SMG's update 2.1 buffs and bugs. I want to talk to you about, well, mostly buffs, but there is one very important bug that has been around forever and is still driving me nuts. I want to talk about the changes to the Scorpion, or if not the changes, the first time I've ever seen them put out there in the light of day anywhere, which is pretty crazy. The updated rate of fire, the updated bullet speed for the Tommy gun, the new damage numbers. We're going to talk about the hitbox issues. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff. So stick around. And if you like these kind of videos, remember we do them week in, week out, which is value add. We got on the range, we tested Tommy gun, we went into Pachinki, we shot each other in the legs and the arms and found love again, and then the patrons were all jumping around being idiots as we usually are. If you want to join Patreon, it's patreon.com/thebushka. We do this all the time, streams, rooms, that's what we really kick off with. This update was crazy how they buried the lead, like it was just one line of saying, have adjusted or balanced SMGs and ARs. That's all they said. Then they made changes to about 20 different weapons and just thought that we'd find them out, I don't know, by osmosis. Let's kick it off with the PP19 Bison. The Bison was the one that got all the attention when the patch notes came out and people started running the thing because it suddenly started being more effective. For the longest time, it's been a bit of a whipping boy in terms or, you know, it's been a bit of a joke, a meme, a gun that people didn't really get involved with. It's not that anymore. The rate of fire got chopped. It got a real haircut. Used to be a round every 0.089 seconds. That's down to a round every 0.075 seconds. That's a 17% decrease in the amount of time it takes to fire off a round, which means the Bison kills quicker and more effectively. And basically, that's what you're looking for a weapon to do in PUBG Mobile. And it's doing it. It didn't get any changes in any other parts of the game. It did drop its time to kill down to 0.3, which is kind of the cutting line for being good and bad. 0.3 is where you want to be. Like below 0.3 is excellent. Above 0.3 is bleh. So the Bison's now right in the center of the field. Let's talk a little bit about the Tommy gun now. And the Tommy gun did undergo quite a few changes. Most notably was base damage. It jumped up to 43 base, which is really good to have more damage. It's not a huge jump though. It also not really, I haven't seen this reported much anywhere, got a bullet speed buff. It was only a tiny amount, but its bullet speed is now 357 meters per second. Now, that's going to help you in the margins, but it's not a groundbreaking buff. Where it did pick up quite nicely was in limb damage. The Tommy gun's old limb damage was 24.5. The new limb damage for the Tommy gun is 26.6. Now that leads me into something I want to talk a little bit about here with regards to the limb damage. And this is a bug that's been in the game since inception. Basically, we count limb damage as arm and leg, okay? And you get hands and tootsies, that's all well and good, but arm and leg is what we're talking about here. However, if you hit someone in the area between the elbow and the shoulder, it doesn't count as a limb damage shot. It counts as a chest shot. And that means you're applying vests and vests reduce damage. So rather than getting the advantage of the exceptionally good weapon limb damage that you get with certain SMGs, you're getting negatively impacted because there's a bad hitbox reading. Now, that prompted me to check the limb damage on some other weapons. And I checked the Scorpion and found out something crazy. It's the only gun in the game that I could find that has more limb damage than base damage. So you'd be better off shooting someone in the foot than you would shooting someone in the vest. Well, in the leg anyway. The limb damage on a Scorpion is 23.1. The base damage is 21.9. And that's a fairly big variance for basically what should be a bad shot. It also explains why you watch Fates do some stuff with the Scorpion and he's not hitting headshots and things and they're falling over. It's because it's actually doing more limb damage than an M416, which does 18.4. It's also had a buff to the rate of fire. It fires now at 0.068 seconds per round and overall has become a decent option as a bit of a meme. There were a few weapons that just got minor little touch-ups. The MP5K they're using, the P90, they all got 0.2 bonus to the limb damage. There was chat about the Vector and the Uzi receiving better drop-off over distance from damage, but it's very odd to me that they'd even touch that, because you're not using the Uzi and the Vector to snipe. I mean, even sniping with the Bison, which is like, it's not very effective. And that can mount a 6x. If you're sniping with an Uzi and a Vector at any distance where damage drop-off starts to matter, then you're really doing it wrong. Regardless, any tick to damage is a plus to the weapons. Moving along. The UMP hipfire spread and the laser sight were both nerfed. However, I've not really been able to find that. And I would also like to point out that since I last did the data on the UMP, the hipfire damage or the leg damage has been increased up to 26.6 from 24.5. Sorry, up to 26.6 from, 24.5. Wow, that's a 2.1 damage increase since I last tested UMP leg data. Now, I don't know if that was this patch or if it happened in the in-between. And that brings up another thing. All these numbers are going up, right? All these numbers are going up. Limb damage is going up. Rates of fire are going up. AKM limb damage, SCAR-L is going up. I'm doing a video on Power Creep because this is getting ridiculous. Tell me if you ever thought that people weren't dying fast enough in PUBG Mobile, because we still have the same amount of hit points, we still have the same armor, and all the weapons are just getting better and better. Instead of bringing everything back to a mean, they just keep raising the bar so that everyone dies faster and just gets more frustrating. Because if you've got bad server tick rate, which they seem to have at the moment, I think the game, it's fair to say this and it's honest, that there are some huge issues with latency and the server tick rate. And I'll be doing another video on that. If you don't know what I'm talking about there, think about when you run at a door and you shoot the door with a shotgun and then you walk back 3 meters. Or the same happens when you're using an Uzi, or when you run into a room and there's nothing in the room and then you turn around and there's a med kit there, which happens to me all the time. That's a whole bunch of stuff going on, but generally it's the servers just aren't up to it. And that's more important to me. It also means that we're not addressing the core issue of the gameplay that I think is the worst. That is spraying with weapons well and truly beyond what should be effective range, whether it's SMGs or ARs, is very detrimental, in my opinion, to dynamic gameplay. It's one of the reasons why we all play TPP, and I mean, you make all the right rotations and someone's just lying in a field with a UMP and say they nerfed hipfire by 1%. It's not really going to save you in the situation where the guy lying in the field doesn't have to zoom in an ADS to actually hit you, because the game's core mechanics are relatively broken. There's an awful lot of stuff to unpack here. This patch has been massive for the weapons, and I do appreciate the attempt by PUBG Mobile to continually improve the game and balance based on the numbers. And all these things, I think, still point towards the fact that it's nothing but buffs. This is the 3rd SMG buff update. The 3rd. Actually, it's the 4th, if you count the one where they switched over the loadout, like the ammunition. The AKM has been buffed 3 times. The SCAR-L's copped its first buff. Everything's going north. Nothing's going south. If you guys like these videos, if you like this kind of content, if you enjoy this kind of content, then please subscribe to the channel and please share the videos. And if you want to be part of the Patreon team and joining on the live streams and play the games and just have a good time, it's patreon.com/thebushka. I won't hold it against you if you don't, but it does help me a lot to keep the channel alive and going. We're obviously a boutique niche channel. As I was saying to Ouija the other day, if we're any more effing niche, I wouldn't be called a YouTuber. If we get that few views, but all the views help. Love you guys. Look after yourselves. Stay safe in the battlefield. Try out the new SMGs. I think they are a value-adding game. They certainly do run lovely in the CQC. I just love to see it where that is your CQC weapon, but everyone doesn't run just like a SCAR-L or an M416 with them for their ranged weapon because it's so effective. it's a whole other thing to talk about with DMRs. Anyway, until next time, look after yourself, stay safe on the battlefield, and bye for now.